He's blocking my screen. Nisamya Bhishmoktam Atachutatokyam Mukyam Pravitra Vijnanam Viduta Vibram Maha Deshasya Gamindra Shiva Jitta Rasna Paribhupantam Manujani Varitam. Translation: Maharaj Yudhisthira, after being enlightened by what was spoken by Bhishma Dev and Lord Krishna, the infallible, engaged himself in matters of perfect knowledge because all his misgivings were eradicated. Thus he ruled over the earth and seas and was followed by his younger brothers. Here Prabhupada's purport. The modern English law of primogeniture, or the law of inheritance by the firstborn, was also prevalent in those days when Maharaj Yudhisthira ruled the earth and the seas. In those days, the king of Hastinapur, now part of New Delhi, was the emperor of the world, including the seas, up to the time of Maharaj Parikshit, the grandson of Maharaj Yudhisthira. Maharaj Yudhisthira's younger brothers were acting as his ministers and commanders of state, and there was full cooperation between the perfectly religious brothers of the king. King Yudhisthira was the ideal king or representative of Lord Sri Krishna to rule over the kingdom of earth, and was comparable to King Indra, the representative ruler of the heavenly planets. The demigods like Indra, Chandra, Surya, Varuna, and Vayu are representative kings of different planets of the universe. And similarly, Maharaj Yudhisthira was also one of them, ruling over the kingdom of the earth. Maharaj Yudhisthira was not a typically unenlightened political leader of modern democracy. Maharaj Yudhisthira was instructed by Bhishma Dev and the infallible Lord also, and therefore he had full knowledge of everything in perfection. The modern elected executive head of state is just like a puppet because he has no kingly power. Even if he is enlightened like Maharaj Yudhisthira, he cannot do anything out of his own goodwill due to his constitutional position. Therefore, there are so many states over the earth quarreling over ideological differences and other selfish motives. But the king, like Maharaj Yudhisthira, had no ideology of his own. He had but to follow the instructions of the infallible Lord and the Lord's representative, the authorized agent, Bhishma Dev. It is instructed in the Shastras that one should follow the great authority and the infallible Lord without any personal motive and manufactured ideology. Therefore, it was possible for Maharaj Yudhisthira to rule over the earth, including the seas, because the principles were infallible and universally applicable to everyone. The conception of one world state can only be fulfilled if we follow the infallible authority. An imperfect human being cannot create an ideology accepted by everyone. Only the perfect and infallible can create a program which is applicable at every place and can be followed by all in the world. It is the person who rules and not the impersonal government. If the person is perfect, the government is perfect. If the person is a fool, the government is a fool's paradise. That is the law of nature. There's so many stories of imperfect kings or executive heads. Therefore, the executive head must be trained a person like Maharaj Yudhisthira. It must have the full autocratic power to rule over the earth. The conception of a world state can take shape only under the regime of a perfect king like Maharaj Yudhisthira. The world was happy in those days because there were kings like Maharaj Yudhisthira to rule over the earth. Omagyantimidandasya Ganajana Salakaya Chaksun Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimati Bhakti Vedanta Swami Niti Namine Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine The title given by the ruling king or the executive head of state is called Rajarsi, Raja Rishi. And either he is Raja Rishi or he is Raja guided by Rishis. These are the two categories which allow one to represent the people in the kingdom they are ruling over. This person is, in the ideal sense of the term, a representative of God. And he sees the citizens as progeny. The word progeny also refers to citizens, but it also refers to family members. So in this case, the king sees that the living entities who are in his kingdom, including the animals, the trees, and other living beings, can live according to nature's way, or can live according to their desired goals in life. In other words, the king, the executive head of state, the monarch, the ruling person, rules in a way that is beneficial for everyone. His position is a position of servant. We call it servant leadership. He leads, he serves from a position of leadership. That principle is a general principle which applies throughout. That means when one adopts that mood, like a father, he is in the definition sense of the term, he is the head of the family. So it's his responsibility that everything goes on nicely in the family. So he has to serve in the position of being the controller of the family. Similarly, the teacher in the classroom also has to be in the mood of serving the students in the position of leadership. The guru is also the servant of his disciples. At the same time, he is the servant of his spiritual master and the Lord. This idea of servant is not some nice terminology we apply just so we can try to connect it with something glorious. It is actually the principle of life. Everyone is serving, just like in this world. People are serving their boss in order to get some remuneration, some money. People are serving in different capacities of life, in schools, in workplaces, in society's positions, in family members. The principle of servant is the intrinsic nature of the living entity's existence. And therefore, a living entity is always a servant. You can't change his position. It's like trying to change your existence. You can't change your existence. You are existing in a certain place, in a certain area, by the arrangement of karma, and you're under those rules. Similarly, we are servants in all capacities, but people have taken the servant principle as a means to fulfill their own desires. And this is not servant, this is business. Business means that I'm performing something for you in order to get something in return. You know, the shopkeepers, they put out their wares and people pay money and they get what they want. The shopkeeper gets some pecuniary remuneration. So in that same way, in all positions, and especially in such a responsible position as leading not only a kingdom, but leading the entire earth. The mood is servant. Therefore, Prabhupada said, Yudhisthira, you didn't lead for any personal motivation. He was doing it as a service to God and as a service to his progeny, the people in the kingdom. And service means to act in the best possible way for the benefit of everyone. Just like it's mentioned in the Manu Samhita, that if someone is a murderer, then that karmic reaction hangs over their head. And therefore they have to also compensate for the crime of murder in the sense that they have to also give up their life. So if they don't give up their life, if the state doesn't have capital punishment, then in the next life, they have to undergo tremendous amount of suffering. And therefore, by giving up one's life from committing a crime of murder, they are free from the reactions and they start with a clean slate in their next life. Or a clean slate in the relationship to the activities of crime. So in the same way, each of us are responsible for everything we do. Now, sometimes the devotees ask, are devotees under the influence of karma? The answer is both yes and no. No, in the sense that devotional service does not fall within the three modes of material nature. Therefore, the reactions that one gets according to the activities of devotional service are given by the Lord himself, and therefore they are not a karmic reaction. But still, when devotees come into Krishna consciousness, they still have some karmic credits that they have to experience. So they may get a token amount of their karma. And so that token means that there is some reaction, either good or bad, for some activity in devotional service. And the example is given that if you have a fan that's turning, you pull out the plug, then what happens, or you disconnect it to the electrical socket, the fan turning doesn't stop immediately. It gradually slows down and then it stops. In the same way, when we come to Krishna consciousness, we're still carrying some of our karma. Of course, when we take the devotional service, the reactions of our previous karma are mitigated only because we won't be able to perform devotional service if we were still getting the reactions of our karma. And when one takes shelter of the spiritual master and becomes initiated, then a large percentage of their karma is taken on the first initiation, and the remaining karma is nullified on the second initiation. So sometimes even a person who is second initiation, they may seem to get reactions from the material energy. But those reactions are not anything to do with karma, although they may look like it. Those reactions are coming by way of if someone deviates a little in the execution of their devotional service. In other words, if they start acting in a material way or even commit a sinful activity, they will get a little slap just to wake them up and to let them know that what they had done was wrong, so they get back into the standard again. So that's done as a means of correcting and as a means for realigning the person in devotional service. But it's not karma. But in the beginning, when we first come, we're still somewhere undergoing what is called residual karma, or that karma which has not been burnt up by the process of devotional service. So we see that when a king takes the position to lead the state, or in this case, to lead the world, they are responsible to what happens to the citizens. It says that in the Shastras say that in the month of Magh, which is the month of January, if it rains during that time, we're talking about in the land of India, that indicates that the leader of that area is pious. If there's some rain during the month of Magh, it indicates there is a pious leader there. So even the material energy reacts according to the leadership. Now you see how there are so many calamities in the world: earthquakes, forest fires, tornadoes, droughts, hurricanes. It's a whole long list of calamities coming by diseases, epidemics, all of these things. A lot of these are due to impious leadership or even demoniac leadership. So when an unqualified person comes to the helm due to the idea of democracy, Srila Prabhupada would say, democracy means demon crazy. It is not something that actually works. Because how are the people able to understand who is the perfect ruler? So it is an enlightened person that is empowered by God to take the helm of things. And it's usually done by the law of primogeniture, as it's mentioned here. A saintly king will produce a saintly son, which will become the next king. And so the lineage goes on in that way. But in today's modern society, there's no such. People grab for political positions because they want power, they want control, and they use their power and control to get what they want. They take large amounts of money from various taxes that have been given. And just like the space program in America, when they were doing that, it was a $5 billion program. So where did all that money go? $5 billion. It's not even accounted for. Some of it went to a few things in the space program, but a lot of the money was unaccountable. So this is today's rule. We don't have what is called Maharaj Yudhisthira, Maharaj Parikshit, or Prithu Maharaj. The kings nowadays, the leaders nowadays, are just political opportunists, just to get some position, some power, some control, some remuneration. And therefore, there's so many calamities in the world. As Prabhupada says, there are so many, people fight over national differences, but now most of the time they fight over economic gain. In the world today, one country wants to get the resources of another country, so they come up with political plans to infiltrate the government and to overthrow the present government and put a favorable government so they can get the franchise of that country. This goes on all the time. There's many espionage programs just to overthrow other governments so they can get in there. And if sometimes things get out of hand, and then there is war, and then there's fights between big nations, and thousands of people die on the battlefield, all because of these irreligious and sinful rulers. So this is the situation in the world today. So we want Raj Ram again, of course. Raj Ram means that the rule of a saintly king, a pious king, one who wants to benefit the citizens. But today you can't find that. And even if you find someone who is a little altruistic, who is a little bit concerned about the people in general. If such a person gets in power, as Prabhupada said, they can't do anything because the political machinery works in such a way to exploit positions and power, and therefore, when someone who has that, they either get kicked out, killed, or are controlled, and ultimately have to give up their ideas on how to rule. Now, this is Kali Yuga, the age of calamities. Okay, so we'll stop there. We all want Maharaj Yudhisthira to reappear in one form or another in today's world.
Thank you. Thank you so much, Maharaj, for your class. And I really like the point what you said about the devotees are not affected by the reactions of and their past sins. And what you mentioned about the first initiation, second initiation, but still after that, we still get affected if we make mistakes. So thank you for that reminder. It's very important. Devotees, if you have any questions, comments, realizations, please unmute yourself and ask. And it'll be nice to take your darshan if you can keep your cameras on as well. Thank you. Hare Krishna. Yes, Scarlett Mataji, please go ahead.
Hare Krishna. I'm sorry. You mentioned something about the devotee and devotional service and initiation. Then you mentioned about the initiating one, initiating two. It makes me wonder, does it mean because I am not initiated, so nothing of what I do has any meaning for me before I have initiated, or it's okay even if I'm not initiated? Because
No, you have to prepare yourself for initiation by following the process. If you don't follow the process as it's given, how can you qualify yourself for initiation? Therefore, you have to come up to the standard. You
that I understand.
Wait, just let me finish.
Yes.
You have to chant 16 rounds. You have to follow the 4 regulative principles. And you have to, follow the instructions given by the spiritual master. And you're making progress towards the process of becoming qualified to receive initiation. So you're making progress. You're making progress. As soon as you start executing devotional service, you make progress. So we've explained very carefully the 9 stages of bhakti: Adao, Strata, Sadhu, Sangha, and Bhajana Kriya. So you can say you are on the 2nd stage, Sadhu Sangha. Sadhu Sangha means associating with devotees and following the process. That leads to a greater advancement in Krishna consciousness, where one decides, yes, this process is very nice. I think I want to make this my lifetime activity. Let me find a spiritual master and work under his guidance. And then that is called aspiring, which is the 1st stage of Bhajana Kriya. And then when one starts to aspire, then they very carefully follow the instructions of the spiritual master. And through that careful execution, they qualify themselves for initiation. And according to the mechanism set up for approval by initiation, it's an orchestrated thing that is organized in a certain way, where one becomes nominated for initiation. And when then that nomination comes, then the process of initiation follows. So as long as you're doing devotional service, you are making progress towards that level of becoming qualified to receive initiation. Right now, before you're getting initiation, you're in what is called a situation of being observed by the spiritual master. Spiritual master observes to see if the person is qualified to take initiation, and the candidate or the devotee is observing the spiritual master to see if that person is my spiritual master. So it's called mutual mutual observation. Guru sees that the devotee is seriously following, and the devotee sees if that person is the person I want to surrender my life towards. So all this is part of the preliminaries that come, they come prior to one's initiation. So you're still acting as if you were initiated, even before you're initiated. You're following the same process.
But I got to hear something that makes me somewhat worried. I have not done any service to you, for your holiness. And that makes me worry that whatever I do, it has no meaning because I don't do any service for you. So what can I do?
Are you chanting 16 rounds?
Huh?
Are you chanting 16 rounds?
Yes, I promise. I don't miss it any day. I do.
Wait. Just answer my questions. Don't complicate.
Okay.
Try to make it simple. You're chanting 16 rounds?
Yes.
That's service. You're following the 4 regulative principles?
Yes.
That's service. You're reading the books?
Yes.
That's service. When you find opportunities, you do a little service here and there, right?
Distributing book and doing garland. Yes.
That's service.
Oh, thank you. Thank you.
Yeah. Direct service is something that is not always available, even for people who are initiated.
Thank you.
Okay. Supriya.
I think I asked this question as the Scarlett Mataji asked before. The same question I asked, and you gave this answer as well. Okay, now the next question is, Maharaj, how do we know which realization we have reached? There are 3 types of realizations in enlightened state: impersonal Brahmin state, Paramatma, and so personality of body.
There are 26 qualities of a devotee. There are different characteristics that one develops as one makes qualities. I should say different qualities that one starts to develop as they make advancement. How much they're becoming detached from material activities, that's another indication of advancement. So you have to observe yourself and see if you're becoming more enthusiastic, you're becoming more detached from material activities. That's your observation. Others can also work with you and help you to understand what you need to do, but these are the basic things. Yeah. If you're doing the same thing you did a year ago, that means you're not making any progress.
Also, another question quickly. A few days back, we discussed, Srimati Mataji discussed that she had a natural bhava as a father, as a natural bhava. She considers Supreme Lord as father. So that's her natural bhava. So for me, similar thing, like I would like to consider a Lord when I'm doing Atma Nivedan, like when we talk to Lord, I consider either as a father or as a friend. Because what I believe is that friendship is the root of all the relationship, whether it's with parents, whether it's with kids, whether it's with your other friends. Friendship has to be there. Without friendship, there is no relationship. And when we are considering any father figure, like spiritual master, etc., my natural bhava is father. So even in my personal life, my father was acting as my friend also. So he was both father and a friend, and he guided in the same manner. So
what does Krishna say? What does Krishna say in the Bhagavad Gita?
I don't know.
You don't know. You should know. He says, Suhidam Sarvadehinam. I'm the friend of all living entities.
Okay. Yeah.
He says that. But the thing is, it's not The father principle is the principle of obedience. Friends, they exchange things, and you may tell your friend to do something, and the friend might tell you to do something, and friends are more on an equal basis.
Yeah.
Father is superior. So if you want to develop an equal basis with Krishna, then you have to come to the level of Sakya Ras, which is on the higher stage of Bhava. And then in that Sakya Ras, then you can develop that mood of friendship. But Krishna is your friend in terms of the general definition of what friend means. It means that he is acting for your benefit. One who is your friend acts for your benefit.
Yeah.
That's the friendship understanding. So he's the friend of all living entities. He says that in the Bhagavad Gita. He says it in at least 3 places. But you have to be careful not to somehow or other familiarize your relationship with the Lord and think you can act just like you have a friend in the material world. It's not going to work.
No.
Yeah, the friendship understanding is different with God.
Yeah, that is there. I mean, we don't consider same as like when it comes to God, yes, we can have a talk as if we are having a talk with a friend, but when still there is a respect, a kind of when we are seeking.
But obedience has to be there. Otherwise, if obedience is not there, then whatever relationship you're trying to establish has no meaning.
Because when it comes to Dasya Bhava, what happens is that generally there is an imbalance of power. When we see master and servant, right? There is an imbalance of power. And when there is an imbalance of power, it's difficult to develop that kind of a closeness with the person. We generally keep a little distance to the person, right?
No. With God, you can do that because God is telling you what to do and you do it. You're not becoming depowered, you're not losing any power. You're gaining power when you follow his instructions. It's like, if you don't like what he says and you say, well, I'm not going to do it because I don't think it's good for me, then you're fallen. You have to follow what he says.
And
he is he is the order giver and you're the order taker. You're not the order giver.
Yeah, that is there.
You can't tell him what you want him to do towards you. And that's Maya.
And what happened, because earlier I was working in corporate and I, especially when I was working in US based MNCs or actually when I worked in US, what happened, there is a lot of narcissism in a corporate. Have you heard of narcissism?
Now you're changing the whole subject to material. First you're talking about and you. Now you're
no. The thing is that influenced my mind a lot. Whether these masters or our bosses who are actually
in the material world, it's different.
Okay.
The material world, if you don't like what the boss is doing, you can quit. You can't quit your relationship with Krishna without falling down. You can't, You don't have no choice with Krishna. Either you do it or you don't, or you fall. That's all. But in the material world, you can quit the job if you don't like it. Say, I'll get another job. So you don't analogize, material life with spiritual life and expect the same principles to be workable. They're not. God is the order supplier. Whatever he says, it doesn't matter. That's our given law. That's our success.
Thank you.
Good.
Thanks, Supriya. Maharaj, there is a question from Rishabh Prabhu. I'll read it. Hare Krishna, dear Gurudev. Is there any other ways to get rid of all karma? we have, then 2 initiations. In ISKCON, not everyone is getting second initiation. Is that in any way impediment in developing pure devotional service?
You can gradually reduce karma through the process of bhakti. That's happening automatically. It says in the Nectar Devotion, when you clap your hands in front of the deities, all of the birds of previous sinful reactions fly away. You're chanting the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra, you're also purifying your previous, reducing your previous karma. All of that's happening. But the initiation is a different process where once you accept initiation, then the spiritual master, out of his duty, so you can execute devotional service without too many impediments, he accepts some of that karma. Some of it on the first, all of it on the second. So don't give your spiritual master trouble by committing more sinful activities or not following his instructions, because that that makes a burden for both the disciple and the spiritual master, and the relationships gets weaker and weaker. Yeah, but Bhaktivinoda Thakur says, chant the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra and all of the anarthas gradually start to reduce. That's for anyone, even before initiation. That's mentioned in Bhajana Rahasya.
Thanks.
Namrata.
Namrata, yes.
Hare Krishna, Guru Maharaj. Please accept my humble obeisances. Guru Maharaj, you mentioned that when one selects a guru and the guru agrees to give initiation, there is a testing time for both the sides. So I understand that guru is also testing this disciple. But somewhere I don't understand that what qualification do we have to test a guru? I mean, I don't understand. How can one test a guru?
Well, you have to see, is this the person you want to surrender your life to? Is this the person that you feel can take you back to Godhead? Is this the person that you at the initiation you will carry out instructions without any hesitation? In other words, a relationship is developing in that observing period, and as the relationship builds, then you can understand, yes, I want to go ahead with this, or maybe this is not my spiritual master. I'm not so sure. So then you actually maybe hear from other persons who are in the same position. So that's in Hari Bhakti Vilas. That's a statement given by Chaitanya Mahaprabhu himself. It's called mutual observation. That was written down by Sanatana Goswami under the guidance of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu. And it's usually for a certain period of time, minimum 1 year. So that's required because it's a big thing to take initiation. It's not like buying a new pair of clothes or pants or something like that. It's a very important step in your life. Now you're willing to make that step. So that observation gives you a chance to decide. And, you know, there are many times where devotees have accepted the shelter of one particular spiritual master in ISKCON, and after some time decided to change to someone else. You can't do that after initiation. That can be done only before initiation. It's just like before you get married, you're engaged. So the engagement doesn't consummate the relationship. It's just preparing you to come closer in that relationship. But once you're married, then there's no question, you know, of going outside of that. Works the same way. So this is an engagement time. To put it in a very simplified way. Okay?
Period.
Sri Devi.
Thank you, Guru Maharaj.
Please accept my humble obeisances, dear Guru Maharaj. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Maharaj, in the course of the lecture, you mentioned that even if a pious, saintly person comes to power, they're unable to do anything because of the political machinery and the whole structure, which is so vitiated. So then what hope is there for our Krishna conscious leaders if they are not able to do any good?
Well, that's what Prabhupada said when he was asked that same question. He said, even a good person can't do anything. Because the whole thing, the whole government's corrupt. You know, look what happened to John F. Kennedy. He tried to go against the grain, they killed him. Robert Kennedy, the same. As soon as you go against the grain of the controllers who are behind the scenes pulling all the strings, and then you get kicked out. Or if they don't kick you out, they kill you, either one. That's politics. It happens all around the world. You have to be the puppet for the controllers. The government is not in control. It's big business that's in control. That is today's form of rule. The governments are just carrying out the instructions given to them by the gigantic corporations. So, you know, this is Kali Yuga. We're not talking about an ideal situation. Kali Yuga. So Prabhupada, when he began the movement, we started the In God We Trust party. And then Balavanta was the name of the devotee who ran for president. And he was campaigning, and so that was good. As a campaigner for president, he had a platform to speak Krishna consciousness. But then at one point, Prabhupada, disassembled that whole program and thought it's just a waste of time. Even if you get in there, you can't do anything. So, yeah. So the whole thing has to crumble from the bottom, from the top down. Then things will change. And that's just a matter of time, which it will happen. Because anything corrupt doesn't last. There's an old saying, time and truth go hand in hand. In time, truth will prevail. So for some time, irreligion or untruth has a stance, but it doesn't last. Just the way it is. So Krishna is working behind the scenes to bring about, saintly rule in the world. He's working with whoever are qualified to come up to the standard. But that's a whole different lecture.
Right. So then for us as just little devotees trying to practice Krishna consciousness, so for us just following what we have been given, like chanting our rounds, following the regulative principles, trying to do little service, that's what we must try to keep doing, at least maintain that much and try to do what.
And preach Krishna consciousness.
Right.
And that's, if you help one person come closer to Krishna consciousness, that is considered glorious and very, very laudable. If you can save one person from this cycle of material birth and death, that is great service. And that service will never go in vain.
What
So-
if you're
You might think you're a little guy that can't do much, but we can always distribute some books, somehow help people in their Krishna consciousness. All of this is what Lord Chaitanya has come to do in a big way. We can be his assistants in some small way. Just like when Ram was trying to build a bridge across the Lanka Ocean, you know, Hanuman was throwing big boulders into the water, and these boulders were floating because Ram was writing his name on them. So there was a little squirrel, some people say spider, some say squirrel, that was kicking little grains of sand, wanting to help to build a bridge. So Hanuman was thinking, my little brother, he's in my way here, I might step on him. So he kept pushing the squirrel aside. Ram said, Hanuman, he is doing as much as you are. And what did he mean by that? You're working to your capacity. He's working to his capacity. That's what the Lord sees. If you can remember that, then you can see that you can make a difference if you work to your capacity. Serve to your capacity.
So just as a follow-up, Maharaj, if I may, Srila Prabhupada said, I have this disease. I cannot think small. I like to think big. So if we catch this disease, plan something ambitious, are we being foolhardy or overly, thinking ourselves very grandiose, or we are really trying to serve Srila Prabhupada's mission?
Yeah, well, you have to see. Therefore, when you take on a big project, therefore, Bhakti Vinod Thakur writes that a lot of times by taking on a big project, we give up a lot of our other services and put all our energy on that. And then for years, we're not doing any real service, just trying to build a project. But if you want to do something big, you better have a team to do it with, not just a one-man show. One-man show is a person who is the visionary, is the initiator. But in initiating something, you have to have others who are on board to help. You can't do it alone. You need support, just like the guru needs support to preach because he depends on his disciples to help in the preaching by doing different services in the same way. Prabhupada had his disciples were helping him. They were making all the arrangements for him to preach. But Prabhupada had the vision, but before he actually started, Prabhupada, when he was all alone, you'll see how hard it was for him to do anything. But when people came, and then they became favorable, and then he engaged them, then the movement started to spread. So if you have a big project you want to do, first you have to, get an understanding of what you want to do, and then invite other people to come along.
I would definitely like to have, at least on a small scale, simple living, high thinking, eco-village living here in Mayapur, just to show the world that this is Srila Prabhupada's desire, it can be done, it must be done, and it will get done. To save the world, we've got to do this. So this is what I really...
Why don't you talk to the people who are doing it here? There are devotees who are doing that.
Yes, Guru Maharaj.
You know Samba?
No, I don't know Samba.
I'm sure you know his wife. I can't remember her name. But Samba's been doing this for the last 20, 30 years. And he has a project. He has a piece of land. He's developing it. That's right within the range of Mayapur. There's others who are doing things. if you stay inside your house, you won't find any. You won't be able to see anything. You have to go out and walk around and talk to people. You'll find out there's a lot of stuff going on. Now, you have another question?
Yes, Guru Maharaj. Just a follow-up of what Sridhar Mataji is saying. When we think about farm projects, being a grihastha or staying in a faraway places, or maybe wherever you want to install the project, the group of people may be staying in different places. It takes a lot of guts to come to the conclusion that yes, you want to stay at a place, because being a grihastha, it's a different thing, and being a brahmachari, it's a different thing. So how can we think this way when we are thinking in a way of a grihastha?
Just think, where can you connect your grihastha life to some community? Huh? Then you have to see where you want to go. That's it. See what communities are available, see what the requirements are for becoming a part of that community, or just go and for a temporary period of time and live in one of these communities and see what it's like. That's the order before you actually commit yourself. You're too theoretical. Your question is a practical question, and I'm giving you a practical answer. You can't be theoretical now. Here's the answer.
Yes,
If you want to go in that direction, you got to see what communities are available and maybe give yourself a chance to experiment by staying in these communities, working with these communities, and see what it's like.
Yes, Guru Maharaj, I think you're reading my mind. Definitely. There's something upon my mind which I will mail it to you regarding this. Thank you. Hare Krishna.
Let's see. Scarlett, you have a question?
Yes, please. You mentioned in a book, Bhaktivilas. I have heard so many good things about that. Do I get to read it?
Did I say, I said
Bhaktivilas Thakur.
Hari Bhakti Vilas.
Yes, I'm sorry. Hari Bhaktivilas Thakur, yeah.
Well, it comes on, I think there's about 16 volumes of the book. It's not just a book. It's the rules and regulations for living a grihastha life. But you're not married, so don't worry about it.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Maharaj. Any other questions, or is it okay to close the call now? We're only 3 minutes up.
Okay, yeah. All right, so there's a couple. All right, there is, let's see. I don't see Srimati, is she there? No.
There is iPhone. I'm not sure who is on that. Please go ahead if you have a question.
It's Elena. It's
Elena, yes. Please go ahead. Yes, please. You can ask the question if you have. You're on mute.
She has written her question already.
Oh, this is from the.
She wants to know about the.
Okay, this is the question. I've got it now. Maharaj, I'll read it for you.
Hare Krishna, sorry, I have a problem with the connection.
No, that's fine. I will read it for your question. Yeah, that's fine.
Yes, yes. Thank
Thank
you very much.
Hare Krishna, please accept my humble obeisances. All glory Srila Prabhupada and Gurudev. I have a question for Gurudev. How did you feel when you met Srila Prabhupada? What was your first thought and what did you feel?
That's a class for another time. That's a question.
I don't understand.
So,
No,
yeah.
no capisce, huh?
Non ho capito.
No capito.
You repeat, please.
Domande.
Ok.
Okay, domande.
Domande. Question.
No, domande means tomorrow, right?
Ah, okay, okay. Hare Krishna. Excuse me.
Thanks, Elena Mataji.
Hare
It's
Krishna.
a comment, Maharaj, from Rishabh Prabhu. He's saying, interesting, Gurudev. Krishna is the one moving, transforming the world. And we are just trying to figure out and be used by Krishna to fulfill his plans. I'm always concerned. I'm trying to impose my unnecessary plans to Krishna, but still knowing that pure devotee as you, Gurudev, approve of it. It means Krishna approves it also.
Yeah. If you have some idea on how you want to serve, then just ask your spiritual master and get the answer. To have ideas is good, but you know, you want to make sure that it's going to be in the right direction. Okay, arrivederci. Buona notte.
Hare Krishna.
Krishna.
We'll see you
Hare
all. See
Hare
you all.
Krishna.
Yeah. Tomorrow, tomorrow we're doing the class with the Charlotte devotees. It's at 20 minutes later than today's class. Starts 20 minutes later. So it's 12:20 UK time. Tomorrow is with the Charlotte devotees. Okay, thank you very much.
Hare Krishna. Guru Maharaj.
Yeah.
This is Guru Maharaj, about the images I have mailed you. How can you send it without the images being